What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was banished and ascended to godhood? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. The betrayal. Uzumaki Naruto, for the attempt of the life of Uchiha Sasuke on the retrieval mission. You are hereby banished from Konoha due to the unanimous decision of the council. You have 1 week to pack, one of the civilian council members declared. During which time if you step foot in the fire country you will be executed for treason. Naruto just stood there, imitating a fish. He turned his gaze to Tsunade, but found she was averting her gaze. At that moment, his heart froze. The woman he looked at like a mother was not even doing anything to stop this, wasn't even looking at him. Reaching into his back pocket he pulled out an envelope, walked over to Tsunade and placed it in front of her. But the thing that most people were scared at was when he bent the forehead protector with TWP of his fingers and to the shock of everyone in the room crushed the Shodai's necklace to dust in his clenched hand. Take that as my resignation, Hokage-sama. Naruto spat out the words as if they were the most potent venom. I'll be out of here by nightfall, he said, walking out of the council room. He immediately headed down towards the hospital where he knew all that mattered to him would be. He sighed to himself. Konohamaru, Moegi, Udon. Rocks ain't spheres, he said without looking back. The rock went poof to reveal none other than the Konohamaru core. What's wrong, boss? Usually you let us follow you for about 3 more blocks before you point out our mistake, Moegi asked, concern inching into her voice. The civilian and shinobi council banished me with the Hokage's approval. I'm out of this place at nightfall, he said, starting to walk again. Train hard guys, cause the next time you see me, we might not be on the same side, he said, placing his hands in his pockets, leaving the stunned trio to shed tears for our blonde hero. Hospital. 5 minutes later, Naruto walked into the room everyone that was in the retrieval mission shared. He saw everyone he wanted to see there: Lee, Tenten, Neji, Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Hinata and Shino. He knew exactly where Sakura and Ino would be. Sakura Haruno. He couldn't believe he liked that whore before. Flashback. Naruto staggered into the village, his blood seeping from the wound on his chest, but still he plodded on, Sasuke tied up over his good shoulder. He saw the village gates and his heart leapt when he saw his crush standing there waiting for him. Sakura-chan, I brought him back. I brought back SSSSLAP. He fell on the ground but managed to maneuver Sasuke so he wouldn't get hurt. I asked you to bring him back, not bring him back as a bloody corpse. She screamed, I hate you, you demon. I hate you, and with that she ran off crying. Naruto just silently got up and headed to the council. But inside his mind, the Kyuubi was growling while one thing went through its mind. Humans here have no honor, maybe, just, maybe, and with that it went quiet in Naruto's mind once more. Flashback end. Naruto leaned on the inside of the door, rapping his knuckles against the doorframe. Mind if I join you? Shikamaru just smiled and motioned for him to come over. Sure, you troublesome blonde, he said, smirking lazily. Hey Tenten, you got those orders for me? He asked, a small sadness creeping into his voice. They banished me, insert collective gasp. And I want to do 3 things before I leave. Hinata, come over here and sit by Neji, he said, motioning for the Hyuga heiress to join him by the bed. He took her hand and made a small cut on her finger, not deep but just deep enough to draw blood. He then traced the blood over the caged bird seal. He then placed his palm between Neji's eyes and sent a bit of chakra. The seal glowed for a second, then the ink and blood dripped off. He wiped some of the blood ink and then proceeded to put a tear-like mark under Neji and Hinata's ear. Then going through a few dozen hand seals, they glowed green before disappearing into the skin color. Hinata gasped. Neji wondered what she was looking at until she produced a small pocket mirror. Neji's eyes widened. The caged bird seal was gone. He produced a small note from his jacket pocket and gave it to Hinata. How to remove the caged bird seal and apply my new bloodline protection seal, the heavenly teardrop seal, and since there's no servitude seal, it means the main house can't abuse the branch house, he said, nodding at the now teary white-eyed Hyugas. At least I'm keeping half my promise, right? He said, grinning half-heartedly. They both nodded, tears now falling. Turning on his heel, he walked over to Lee. Lee, I need some of your blood, he said, taking a small test tube from the racks, before stopping as he remembered something. Lee, show me the back of your head, he said rather quickly, Lee leaned forward and bent his head. Naruto placed 2 fingers in the middle of his hair and 2 fingers on his own eyebrows. They all looked at the two intently when all of a sudden he shouted, "Son of bitch." No wonder he can't do nen or genjutsu. With a sigh he calmed down. Taking his fingers off his head he went on mumbling about, "Stupid stuck-up pricks," and, "I'm glad he wiped them out," before he sighed. "Lee, they put a bloodline suppressor seal on you, that along with another seal that makes it look like a disease, as well as shrinking your chakra coils to that of a civilian. I'm gonna remove that so you won't have those bug eyes anymore," he said, starting a series of complex hand seals. Naruto-kun, what bloodline is it?" Tenten asked curiously. Naruto just shushed her before mumbling Sharingan. There was another collective gasp. 492 hand seals later. Naruto finished the last seal and his index and middle finger went alight with bright blue flames. "Unseal Sharingan." He whispered, tapping Lee on where the seal was. The effects were instantaneous. Lee's face got more angular, his eyes shrunk and got an onyx-like color and then went red, signaling the Sharingan just activated. "Don't rely on those eyes of yours too much, they're no substitute for hard work. Got it?" He nods. "Okay, I'm gonna put the heavenly teardrop seal on you to protect your bloodline so no one can steal them. They also stop people from copying your jutsu," he said, applying said seal. And last but certainly not least, he walked over to Hinata and spun her around, dipping her head and kissing her passionately. You all know the kiss I'm talking about. Hinata's eyes widened in shock before she sunk into the kiss and began kissing back. Using wind chakra, he was able to keep the kiss going for much longer than it should have by turning it into oxygen. 5 minutes later he released the kiss the now happily dazed Hinata. "I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner, my hime," he whispered. Good," she trailed out before passing out. Tenten looked incredulously at the girl before saying, "It couldn't be that good." She walked over, intent on proving the now red passed out heiress wrong. 5 minutes later, she only could agree with her. Thinking one thing, is this guy Kami-sama's gift to women? Up in heaven, a secretary walked into the office of a woman aged 22. "Not really want to give a description, so you can do that yourself." That was furiously scribbling down her signature on pieces of paper. Kami-sama? Yeah? She grunted, continuing writing down signatures and names. 1. Tenten, down in earth, wanted to know if a boy named Naruto was your gift to women. The assistant said, blushing at the feeling she got from holding the question sheet. "Let me see that," she said, grabbing the question sheet and feeling what happened. "Oh yeah, I figured since no one would cut him a break, I'd give him a gift. Never thought he'd be that good though, me damn it. Well, I couldn't have her say god damn it now, could I? On the path of destiny he walks when he gets up here, me and him are gonna have a lil fun," she said, smiling perversely, but then she frowned. Now if only someone could think of the way to beat this damn paperwork so I could have some me time. The buzzer went off at the assistant's desk, telling her that another person had asked a question with her name involved. Going outside and picking it up, she had a huge shit-eating grin on her face. "You got your wish, Kami-sama." Kami's eye widened and she snatched the paper off the assistant, and let the info absorb through her. Damn, how in the name of Kami-sama did Gigi not think of using shadow clones on his paperwork? Is it really that simple that no one thinks it? A certain blonde-haired teen asked. "Ooh yes, we are gonna have fun with this one," she smiled as she made a few shadow clones to take care of the paperwork. Well, I gotta go. I gotta get what I need from my apartment and leave. I hope I see you guys soon, he said, winking at them before disappearing in a yellow flash. After gathering the few things he needed, he sighed and began the walk towards the gates. He stopped by Ichiraku's ramen stand for a quick dozen bowls before paying and giving a nice tip and saying goodbye to the two. Passing the gate, he saw the two guards looking at him sadly. "See ya Izumu, see ya Katetsu. Have fun on your panty raids of the Y and dangerous kunoichi of Konoha." he said, stopping at the gates and spending a few minutes talking to his two favorite chunin. "See ya Naruto, it's gonna be dull here without you," Azumo said, smiling sadly at their favorite blonda. "Yeah, and who's gonna have enough balls to come with us when we go after on a panty raid on Anko?" Kotetsu asked with a semi-sad perverted look on his face. "Try Shino Aburame, that guy has nerves of steel," he said, picking up his duffel bag and walking through the gates. It wasn't until he was a kilometer outside of the village that the reality of what just happened hit him like a ton of bricks. And for the first time in years, Naruto Uzumaki broke down crying. Hokage's office. Same time. Jiraiya kicked open the door before closing it again and setting up a privacy jutsu and marching up to Tsunade. "What the hell is going on, Tsunade? I get back from a recon mission and when I do I hear the villagers partying about the demon being banished by the council and you. Do you know what you just did?" he asked, his eyes going from the door to her every few seconds. "I banished a Jinchuriki who was out of control, SSSSSLAP. Jiraiya just slapped Tsunade across the face. "You just banished your godson, you old hag. When Minato's brother hears about this he'll be here to find his nephew, and when he's not here he's gonna take everything that is in the Namikaze clan limits and there will be nothing we can do about it." He yelled in her face. She went pale, remembering the last time she fought against Minato's brother. It didn't end well for her. She then thought about the resemblance between the three and found they were way too similar to not notice. She then thought about how similar, then thought of his personality and noticed they were the same as well. CCCRACCKSLLLAAAM. A man dressed in black with blue eyes and blonde spiky hair and a huge ass zanbatu on his back and a black forehead protector that had a crescent moon on it walked into the room. He had the two Anbu guards that were stationed outside and dragged the two into the room before throwing them before the cage and the sage. He was in his early 30s and had a pissed-off gleam in his eye. He glared at the two before he said three simple words. "Where is he?" 5 kilometers outside Konoha. Naruto was walking down the path, one hand in his pocket, the other holding the strap of his duffel bag. His tears had stopped flowing 20 minutes ago. "Hey kid, can we talk for a second?" the Kyuubi asked from inside his cage. "Sure. Do you know where you're going?" it asked. "Nope. Do you mind if I make a suggestion?" "Nope. Why not head towards Shiningu Tasuki no Kuni? Shining Moon Country, huh? Might just look it up." "Well kid, we got company. You want to stop holding back now?" the Kyuubi asked, grinning mischievously. "Oh hell yeah," he thought, giving his own grin. "Asuma, Kakashi, guy, you can all come out now. I know you're there," he called out behind him. The 3 Jonins jumped out from their hiding place and formed a triangle in front of him. Kakashi was the first person to speak. "The council wishes you to come back to ask you how you managed to take off the caged bird seal and make a seal that does the same job. If you resist, we'll take you by force," he said in a monotone voice. Naruto just shrugged and made a few hand seals. "Futon. Whirlwind arena," he said as the wind picked up, picking up leaves that surrounded the path, and it made a dome. It wasn't strong enough to move them. Throwing his duffel bag outside the dome, he got into a fighting stance none recognized. "If you want me to go back just so you can kiss the council's ass, you gotta drag me back, or move out of my way and wait for the banishment to end," he said, his eyes a cold piercing blue. They attacked him simultaneously, but this jutsu he created amazed them. He was moving fast enough to dodge and continuously strike each of them. He noticed a man watching, leaning against a tree, watching the fight through the corner of his eye. 5 minutes later he finished them off and summoned a toad to take them back to Konoha. Then, the 2 blondes stared at each other, one ready to fight again, the other relaxed. Finally, after 3 minutes of silence, "Are you here to bring me back, or did you just enjoy seeing Konoha's finest get their asses kicked by an academy jutsu?" he asked slowly, grinning at the part about the academy thing. "That was Kawarmi no Jutsu? Damn, you took that to a whole new level." The man said, "You really are a Namikaze. You know who I am, so who are you?" he said carefully. "Namikaze Strife Cloud. Jonin of Higuragakure no Sato of Shininu Tasuki no Kuni." "You think they'd let me join the village?" "Sure. The Higuraga cage is always looking for new recruits." "Okay then, Cloud, lead the way." Tsunade was waiting for the retrieval team of Uzumaki to come back, signing form after form because the council was too lazy to do their own. There was a knock from the other side of the door and in walked Shizune, her eyes flicking through various files. "Tsunade-sama, You have a 3 o'clock appointment with the Builders Union. Hiyashi Hyuga wishes to see you about how Hinata and Neji came upon their new seal, and lastly the retrieval team has just returned, she said in a monotone voice, just looking over more documents. Fine, send them in, she answered, cracking her writing hand from writing so long. Can't, was her reply. And why not? She asked, getting a little irritated. They're in hospital from a severe beating. Apparently, Naruto has made a combo that took all three of them, Shizune said, finally looking up. Her reply made everyone within all of Konoha jump in fright. Dammnunarutoo. You just gave me more PAAAAPER work. Trail somewhere in T country. BWWWAAACHHHHHU. A certain blonde sneezed. Someone's talking 'bout me. You okay, Naruto? Cloud asked his nephew. Yeah, someone's just saying my name, he said, waving a hand dismissively. So, how far are we from Shiningu to Suki no Kuni? I mean, I told the toad to take as long as it wanted to get back to Konoha. About an hour from here. Cloud trails off. Get your blades out, Naruto, something isn't right here. Naruto put his hands behind an open orange jacket and pulled out the two saber claws. He sent a pulse of chakra and waited. There was something leaning against a tree not too far ahead. Noticing a body leaning against a tree, Naruto shunshined over, pausing slightly to take in the now defined appearance of the girl. She was about his age, 3 inches taller than him. She had shoulder-length red hair and a body Sakura and most other Konoha girls would kill for. By her hands were a set of chakrams with different designs. One was shaped like flames, the other like wind. Checking her pulse, he noticed she was alive, if only by a fraction. Hands flashing through hand seals, his hands started glowing a rich sea green, placing them just millimeters from the girl's assets. He quickly started giving the girl a fraction of his massive chakra reserves, as well as relaxing the girl's muscles and healing any damage he found. The girl's eyes opened a fraction and one choked out word, barely above a whisper. No bow dies, was all she was able to say before she passed out again. She looks like a member of the Shinjo clan. They specialize in Daiwaru Riri Su techniques. Judging from her weapons, she's a mid-range fire and wind user. Did she say anything? Nobody's, he said, noticing his uncle stiffen. Something tells me I want to be on guard, he says, standing up and making a shadow clone to carry the Shinjo girl. Naruto nodded to Cloud and the trio started running. After a while Naruto started noticing shades of silver matching their speeds. He glanced over to Cloud, who was fingering his switchblade. Several blurs of silver cut out in front of them. They were humanoid-like creatures with silver streamlined bodies. Blue lights running up the sides. Their arms were that and stopped at the wrists. For those of you reading this who hasn't played Kingdom Hearts 2, or if my description is crap, they're dusks. They started swarming out of the forest, circling them, looking for weakness, looking for the power they felt. Any weaknesses in these guys I should know about? Naruto asked, flexing in the defense stance he was in. They don't like light or dark attacks. Duly noted, he nodded his head. Kit, remember that chat we were having before that bloody Uchiha went AWOL? Yeah, I know a few jutsu that will shake this in-betweeners. Okay, but you gotta show me the seal's furball. Naruto chuckled, hearing the growl coming from the back of his mind. The mental images started filling his mind, going through hand seals. He called out the jutsu. Yamaten. Enku Seisho. He called out, spreading his fingers. They glowed gray before shooting black flames in an arc. Note to self. Work on casting time. Cloud looked at Naruto through the corner of his eye after slashing through a wave of nobodies with his sword. Shit. Gotta introduce him to Riku. Haven't seen that one before. Cloud sliced through a wave of dusks with Vendetta and Vigilante in there combined and Avenger in the other. A.N. These are the names of the swords of his sword and Advent children. Since Zack is alive in this story, he will have the Buster Blade. He chanced a glance over at Naruto and cursed. He was in the middle of a pile-on, from a bunch of creepers. He was about to help when another wave of dusk started attacking. Damn it, I can't use any jutsu. They've got my whole body except for my left hand pinned down. He could hear his clone go poof. Memories came flooding back to him. Get off, it was just a whisper. Get off, this time more forceful. He could feel power building up. A power he hadn't felt since he had that really weird dream before the Genin exam. Get off of me. He roared, finally shooting up, sending the creepers flying. Swirls of light and dark energy swirling violently around him. His eyes flashed through 3 different forms before going back to its original cerulean blue. In his hand was an odd weapon. Think the Oblivion handle and guard. A katana blade and a black crescent moon on the spine of the blade just a bit under the tip, and the keychain had a white crescent moon. He glared at the nobodies around him and went to the Shinjo girl to make sure she was okay. Cloud Asen, get going, and no matter what, don't look back. This is gonna be something that will make the sun look like a candle flame, he mumbled. Cloud looked at the boy, and knew by the tone of voice, he'd heard it the first time Minato was going to use the Hirishin no Jutsu for the first time. Nodding his head, he picked the girl up and waited for a clearing. Running through hand seals, he called out, Futon, Shippuu Bakufu. Naruto reared his head back and unleashed a massively powerful blast of air. It busted through the ranks of nobodies. Taking the opportunity, Cloud sprinted forward. Naruto sighed in relief. A lot of his new techniques took up a lot of space. So, I hear you guys don't like the light, Going through hand seals, he started glowing, and the shine kept building. Finally he called the jutsu. Awaden. Mabushi Hoken. The light expanded from his body at a fast pace, catching all the nobodies who didn't flee at the building light and turning them into dust within seconds. After 5 minutes the field started to shrink, the light dying down, until it revealed a heavily panting Naruto. God damn, I need to work on my chakra control. After catching his breath he started running to catch up with his uncle. The guy had a 7-minute head start, and if his stamina was genetic, he had a long run. Konoha. So let me get this straight. 3 of the best elite Jonin Konoha has ever seen were defeated by an E-class Futon Jutsu, the Senpu Doyo, and what you think was the Kawarmi no Jutsu, both academy-grade jutsu, and without having to rely on the power of his tenant? Then you were dragged back by an animal summon that is one of the Konoha's noble summon animals, along with the Inu, the Habi, the Namakuji, and the Saru? Is that right? Tsunade asked, rubbing her temples. The council is gonna love bitching about this. We are sorry for failing our youthful mission, Hokage-sama. When I get out of this youthful place of healing, I shall run around the village 100 times on my hands while using chakra control to balance 10-ton boulders on my feet, and if I cannot do that, I shall climb the Hokage mountain 4 times using only my tongue. I shall re-stoke my flames of youth and bring back our youthful comrade Naruto-kun to tell us about the seal he made for the Hyuga and my Adorabol student. Guy shouted. Seemingly out of nowhere the mini Guy clone came and the two started the hug fest. Lee, Guy-sensei. Lee, Guy-sensei. Asuma. Look away. Kakashi warned his smoking friend, his head turned the other direction, his visible eye clenched shut in fear. Tsunade doing the same. I can't, he shook out. Lee, Guy-sensei. Lee, Guy-sensei. And there it was, the most evil unbreakable genjutsu known to mankind. The sunset with the crashing wave in the background, the most horrible sight known to man, demon or god. Itburrrrns. Asuma screamed out at the horrible sight before him. Burns with the powerful flames of Youuth. Guy bellowed, thinking his comrade and him were on about the same thing, the fires of youth. Tsunade walked out, continued rubbing her temples. Have Asuma transferred to the psychological ward. We have another, flames of youth-related trauma. She sighed, walking back to the Hokage tower to do more of Akage's worst enemy, paperwork. Insert dramatic dun. You oath. And give Guy a major sedative. Anne. Shudders, sorry about the horror scene, moving on. Naruto had been running for over an hour before he spotted Cloud, sitting in the clearing sipping a cup of tea. Sighing to himself, he jogged over to the two. Cloud glanced his way, but the girl jumped up, grabbed her chakrams and get into a ready stance. Easy. I'm a friendly, tell her Asen. He moved his eyes towards Cloud. Calm down Rose, he's my nephew, and could probably wipe the flour with you considering I left him an hour and… He looked up at the sun, 7 minutes ago, and he isn't even tired, he said taking another sip of his tea. Reluctantly the girl known as Rose put down her chakrams and scanned the younger blonde. He was 13, maybe 14, short, looked horrible in that orange monstrosity. But the whisker marks were cute. You're kinda short to be a namikaze, you know that right? She stated more than asked. I'm expecting a growth spurt any day now, he answered in all seriousness. Yeah, right, and the namikaze have godlike control over fire not wind, anyone got a match? Chew. Naruto sneezed out a jet of fire, which by his luck of the devil, hit the area where Rose placed the firewood, leaving one woman's jaw on the ground, one confused guy, and one trying oh so hard not to laugh. Fire is my prime element kit, and therefore, it is one of yours along with wind and water, Kyuubi explained. So, I remember you saying something about wind and water merging to form a new element, what was that? Ice kit. Naruto's eyes widened, for a moment, Haku. It took a while to ask the next question, so I get fire from you. Wine from Tucson. Where does my water element fit in? Your mother perhaps, ask the Ken Showaku Saru to tell you something about her, Kyuubi suggested. It took a while to build up the courage, but he managed to do it. Hey, Cloud Osan, what was my Kasan like? Your mother, Kushina, was very strong in her belief. If she thought that she was right nothing would change her belief. One of those things was you. After the fox attacked, she didn't want you. The clan went back to Uzu no Kuni, haven't heard from them since. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Do the namikaze have a dujutsu? Nope, we have a body limit. Once you hit 16, your body will have near instant healing, near limitless stamina. By 35, you stop aging. The average namikaze lives to be 140, if you're lucky 150. Why? I felt chakra being transferred to my eyes during the fight with those nobodies. Did my mother's side of the family have a dujutsu? He said the word mother through gritted teeth. Yeah, it was called the Myogen, a dujutsu that had 3 forms. Most never get past the first form, the Kyokagen. The giving eye would transfer power stored up from the wielder to something else, weapons mostly, which is why Uzu no Kuni makes such exceptional swords. It also cuts through killing intent like a knife through butter. The second form was known as the Kaosugen, the Chaos Eye. It can take almost any type of energy and using in combination with the Kyokagen can make weapons made even stronger and lets you use killing intent and multiplies it. The third form I know only your grandfather ever achieved. I know this because he handed my ass to me and Minato Nissan. The Hirakigen, the revealing eye, was much like the Sharingan in showing how nin and genjutsu worked, but it also showed the weaknesses of any technique, Kekai Genkei, Ninpo, Kenjutsu, and all other variants of things. Using it with the Kyokagen you could artificially create any bloodline that you've seen while it was active. As the knowledge was so detailed and any technique wastes energy no matter how minuet. Cloud paused here. From what I remember it took as much chakra as a hench to activate the Kyokagen, a Kawarmi no Jutsu to activate the Kaosugen, and I have no idea the amount for the third. Naruto closed his eyes and applied a hench amount of chakra into his eyes. When he opened them the eye itself was silver, while instead of a pupil there was a sky blue crescent moon. The eye itself kept drawing a constant amount of the little chakra it took, so he quickly cut the chakra. He closed his eyes and then he put a Kawarmi no Jutsu amount of chakra in. When he opened them the eye was black with a silver slit instead of a pupil. Cutting the chakra once again, he started to think. The first one was a small amount of chakra, next was the bigger one, but not by much. My Mabushi Hoken would be far too much chakra, and would probably make my eyes pop, ditto the Rasengan. Wait a second, Rasengan? Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Applying his chakra he closed his eyes and he opened them again. He felt the tug of his chakra. Grinning he saw his uncle gape seeing that he'd unlocked all 3. The Hirakigen was a purple iris with a diamond for the pupil and 4-point stars surround the iris. He grinned seeing the look of astonishment on his uncle's face. They had a small conversation where Naruto told Rose that he held the Kyuubi no Kitsune. She took it better than he thought she would, considering she just looked at him oddly and exclaimed, "That explains your fire nature." After that, the 3 decided to catch some Z's. It was a long walk to Higuragakure no Sato, and they wanted to make it before lunch. Konoha. We see the Rookie 8, Rookie 12 minus Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura and Ino, walking out of Ichiroku's ramen stand reminiscing about different stunts Naruto had pulled off, like painting the Hokage mountain, or turning the entire market district neon orange for 2 weeks straight. The group were laughing their heads off. Oh god, or remember the time he took all the underwear from the Hyuga compound and put them in the forest of death. The Hyuga's robes aren't meant to be worn in gale force winds. How the hell did he pull that off? The timing was pure genius. Kiba howled in laughter with the others while Hinata was doing her best imitation of a tomato. Hey losers, what you laughing about? They turned to see Uchiha Sasuke and his 2 loyal bitches in tow. Me. Sorry, no offense to you, Kiba. Kiba. Those 2 insult bitches everywhere. They just kept walking, not even sparing them a second glance. Hey, Sasuke-kun is talking to you. When he talks, you listen. Sakura screeched. Yeah, you tell him FORHEAD. Ino screeched in agreement. Troublesome fangirls. Agreed, Shino sighed. Shikamaru, Choji, get your asses over here now. Ino ordered her 2 teammates. No, what was that? She growled. We said no, you bossy, stuck-up worthless fangirl. Choji shouted. Every one of the Rookie 8 looked at him like he grew a second head. Ino was threatening to tear up. She couldn't believe one of the nicest guys she knew just said that to her. Bet you were laughing at the Dobi. I mean, I am too, Sasuke sneered. Lee took a step towards Sasuke. What, wanna start something, freak? Sasuke asked, turning on his Sharingan. If you think you can keep up, Teme. Lee said, activating his own Sharingan. Sasuke took a step back in surprise. How do you have the Sharingan? My unyouthful father placed a bloodline suppressor seal on me when I was 2. Then put me in an orphanage, screwing up my chakra coils in the process, so I was limited to taijutsu, but I got no problem kicking your unyouthful ass around Konoha 100 times. Lee said, Sharingan spinning angrily. Sasuke knew the only advantage he had over Lee, and now that was gone. He forced a sneer one more time and left. Man, I hope our youthful friend Naruto is having a better time than we are here. Maybe I'll hand in a resignation and join him in his youthful trip of the springtime of youth. Lee said, looking out to the setting sun. Outside the walls of Higuragakure no Sato. DAMMMMMMN. The walls are at least twice the size of Konoha. Naruto said in awe. He noticed something hanging above the wall. It looked like a giant heart-shaped moon. What the heck is that? That, Naruto-kun, is Kingdom Hearts. The place all hearts go when they die, Rose answered. Kid, I'm going to start your growth spurt now that we're here. Oh hellag. Naruto started roaring in pain as Kyuubi's chakra flooded his body, stretching and condensing his bones, making them harder than steel, his hair growing as well. When it was finished, Naruto wasn't a midget anymore. He now stood 6 feet 1 with long blonde dreadlocks and spikes on the top of his head, and his whisker-like marks were more defined. God, next time warn me about the Painbaka Kitsune, Naruto groaned, pulling himself up and groaning more to himself. I need some new clothes, these are way too tight now, he sighed, feeling restricted in his old clothes. He saw Rose staring with a bit of drool inching from the corner of her mouth and decided to her a bit. Like what you see? He couldn't stop laughing as she was spluttering out an apology. Rose, go get Naruto some new clothes, then lead him to the Namikaze estate. I gotta go report to Higuria Kage-sama. He smirks when he hears a fangirl squeal and a Kami-sama. Oh, why do you hate me? 2 hours, 5 clothes shops, 3 headgear shops, 30 bags later. Naruto and Rose walked out of the store, Naruto carrying all the bags. He was now wearing black combat bottoms with gray and white flames decorating the ends of each leg. A white shirt and a gray Jonin vest, covered by a trench coat, since it's gonna take a while to tell you, holding his hair back as a bandana like Captain Jack Sparrow's. Everything matching, the coin has a fox head on one side, and a wolf on the other side, and his boots are a white version of Jack's. He felt good in the new clothes, no longer in the orange monstrosity. Hey, Ane-chan, who's the blonde? They turned back to see a man in a black trench coat with silver fittings on it with spiky red hair and tattoos under his eyes. "Hey Ni-san, this is Namikaze Naruto. He came to join the village." "Well then Namikaze, I'm Shinjo Axel, clan head of the Shinjo clan, and all-around friend of anyone with spiky hair. Got it memorized?" "Axel, is it the same outfit as in KH2? "Yep," was his curt reply. "Good, Rose, continue whatever you were doing. See you back at the compound," and with that, he walked off. "Well, you gonna show me to the Namikaze estate, or am I gonna have to pay one of these kids to show me?" Naruto asked. "Oh, yeah, come on, it's this way," and with that the two went off on their way. Naruto and Rose walked into the Namikaze compound. Damn, this place is huge. Bigger than the Hyuga compound. I wonder how Hinata is. His thoughts drifted as he kept the train of thought going on and on. He started thinking about what his life would have been like if his mother hadn't banished him from the clan, though, from what Cloud said, same results, only later on in his life. His hands clenched in anger, subconsciously he was releasing killing intent en masse. Naruto-kun, CC, calm down. Rose pleaded. Realizing what he was doing, he started to mentally bury the KI. After a few minutes he took a deep, calming breath, and let it out slowly. "Sorry Rose-chan, didn't realize I was letting that out," he smiled apologetically. "It's fine Naruto-kun," she grinned at him, making mental note not to piss him off. If that was his killing intent without his Kasugen, with it, it must be life-wrenching. Walking up the steps to the front door of the compound. "Welcome to your new home, Namikaze Naruto," she called out. Naruto watched her leave the compound and stared at the gate for a few minutes before he turned around and pounded the door with the side of the door, then it opened. A man easily in his 60s appeared behind it and beamed at the teenager. "Ah, you must be Naruto. Cloud-sama sent a messenger Hikume Ukami to tell me to prep Minato old room for you. If you ask me, this old place needs more upstanding youth like yourself," the man said. "Ah, look at you. You seem to be in the brilliant springtime of youth." Naruto stopped dead in his tracks, looking closer at the old man. He had absolutely huge gray and black eyebrows that looked like hamsters. He had a bowl-shaped haircut. Under his butler robes he noticed the green spandex under. He suddenly shuddered. You wouldn't happen to be related to Maida Guy, would you?" Naruto said, fearing the butler's answer. "Know him, I am Maida Ishii, father of Maida Guy, master of the Guken style. And currently in the summertime of youth," he said, striking a good guy pose. On the bright side, he ain't as loud as Guy, Naruto thought as he remembered the overly loud and eccentric Jonin. Ishii? Yes, youthful young sir? Do you think you can teach me Guken? My taijutsu is a little lacking compared to my ninjutsu, kenjutsu and ninpo. Kyuubi is teaching me a style he knows called Kamaken and another one called Kitsunhaiken, Naruto said, remembering the basic stances of the styles. "I can do you one better. Guken is derived from Kamaken. I shall teach you the Kamaken. And then, I shall instruct you on the art of Guken." And so Ishii led Naruto to his new room. After packing away his things, the two went off to one of the dojos to begin his training. Ishii started by drawing gravity seals on the boy X3. Then after a series of warm-ups, many push-ups, sit-ups, crunches, squats, pull-ups, etc. They started going through the basics of Kamaken. After a while they started sparring. Despite his age, Ishii hits were hard and fast, never more energy than needed. By the end of the training session, Naruto was completely exhausted. He fell to the group panting heavy. Was a lot of effort. He managed to get back to his room before falling on the bed, not bothering to take off his clothes. He then had an odd dream of what things would have been like if he didn't bring Sasuke back and hadn't been banished. It was, to say the least, idiotic. His dream followed the storyline. Higura's Cage's office. My god, he kept up with Ishii for 5 hours straight, and he hasn't even activated his bloodline yet. The Higura's Cage said in disbelief. Told you he was something special. I guess that run-in with those nobodies opened his heart, if that Keyblade I saw was any indication. I recommend putting him with Sora and Roxas. That would give them a very well-balanced team, since Naruto is a mid to close range specialist, especially now with the Keyblade and Ishii teaching him taijutsu. Roxas and Sora both have mid-range skills as well as close. They use mana with their keyblades down to an art. And as a Jonin sensei? My old partner, Sutu Zak. Infiltration, demolition and combat. Very well, congratulations Namikaze Dono. Your nephew is on Higurea's first SWAT team since the Shodai Higurea cage. Thank you sir, anything else? Yes, describe the keyblade to me. The Higurea cage intertwined his fingers and his lower half of his face. The hilt had a jewel at the top of it, and demon wings as a guard. The blade was a basic katana and the key was a crescent moon. If I may, why are you interested? Because, the keyblade is a very interesting weapon. It promotes mana even if you aren't a wizard, and if you have chakra, it was said that one that can control chakra and holds the keyblade can separate the chi and ryotsu, the physical and spiritual concepts of chakra, and could also merge mana and chakra. Two forces that counteract each other to the point of death. He paused to consider his words. If this was true, it would only be a matter of time before he gains enough knowledge of how to use the keyblade. Don't you mean mastery? There have been no masters of the keyblade, and there are still none. All that can be gained is knowledge of them, and a twilight keyblade is a very interesting blade, if I am correct. Roxas and Sora have light keyblades and Riku has a dark keyblade. Is that all? Yes, thank you Cloud. The cage opened a drawer and rooted around. He pulled out a Hitei Atai, an. No idea how to spell, anyone want to correct me on that? Give that to Naruto and tell him to meet his new team at Higurea Clock Tower at 8 am sharp. Dismissed. Hi, Yondaime-sama, Cloud said standing at attention before walking away. The next morning 6:29. Naruto got up stiffly before going about his morning rituals. After stepping out of the shower, he shook his hair to get the worst of the drips off. Whizzing through hand seals he preformed one of the many jutsu Kyuubi had taught him. Ninpo. Kei-sensu. Kyofu Jumai. His hair instantly went into the style he wanted, dry and all. Kami was chakra a miracle. Tying his bandana and putting the dice and other decorations on, he then put the kitsune, ukami coin on to finish his work. Putting on the rest of his outfit, he took out a hat as well. It was a 3-point hat, an. So what? Another of Jack's clothing bits, and if you're wondering, I'm not gonna make him say, savvy, savvy. Twirling the hat between his fingers before putting it on. Walking down to the kitchen, he saw Ishii work on eggs and rashers. Heading into the dining room he saw a woman with long black hair that reached to her mid-back. She looked over to him and smiled, making him blush. Oh, and who might this be Cloud? The woman asked. Tifa, meet my nephew Naruto. Naruto, I'd like to introduce my fiancé, Lockhart Tifa, Cloud said before taking a drink of coffee. Catch, he said throwing the headband to Naruto, who catches it easily. Looking over the headband was a dark gray, bordering on black. The insignia on it had a crescent moon on it like clouds, but what was strange was it also that on the other side were sun rays. Cloud? Why does my Hitei Atai have a different insignia than yours? Because Naruto-kun, it was Tifa who answered. Cloud, myself and a few others are part of a group called the Mayanaka Shikan. Our headbands hold the moon only to signify that. I hope that helps you. Thanks Tifa Obasan. You're to meet your new team at the Twilight Clock Tower at 8 o'clock hours sharp, but until then, sit down and have some breakfast, he said gesturing to Ishii who was bringing in the boys' breakfast with a smile. Breakfast is the most youthful meal of the day. Eat it all and you will be sure to stay healthy enough to stay in the springtime of youth like your uncle here, he said striking a nice guy pose after he set his breakfast in front of him. Eating his breakfast fast, he went out the door and decided to talk to Kyuubi for a bit. Getting into the lotus position, he let his body go onto autopilot. Naruto's mindscape. Upon entering his inner mind he let out a low whistle of admiration at what used to be a sewer. Now it was a clearing. A waterfall was tumbling down a hill. The pool below was partly frozen. He could feel a light breeze upon his face. Up in the sky was a lunar eclipse, signifying either his light and dark jutsu, or the fact he was a twilight nin. With Kyuubi, you couldn't tell, In the middle of the clearing a roaring bonfire was raging. Beside it was a woman in a simple red kimono that accented her natural beauty with a collar with seals all over it. Her ears were that of a fox's and she had 9 tails flowing behind her. Wait, 9 tails? Fox ears. Oh my Kami, the feared Kyuubi no Kitsune is a chick. Why am I not all that surprised is a better question. So that's how she knew that hairstyling jutsu. I'm getting too used to this type of shit. He just stared at her for a few seconds before shaking his head to get rid of a scene he'd read from that little orange book Sarutobi kept in a hidden under his desk. Hey Kyuubi, he said walking over to her. My name isn't Kyuubi Kid. That's a title any Biju can achieve just like the other 8 tails. So what is your name then? Kaikoku Hana no Kitsune, heiress of the Kitsune clan. I hope the clan is alright. Father is probably going insane with worry. He was always a little too protective of the family. Kaikoku sighed to herself. Naruto paused to think. He began putting angles together in his head. I think, I have an idea to get you out of my head, if even for a while, Naruto said slowly making Kaikoku's head snap to face him. I'd have to give up summoning toads though. You're thinking of signing the Kitsune contract aren't you? She said slowly. Naruto nodded his head. Gotta tell Gamabunta Bozu first. I'll be back, Kitsuneheim. He said, unaware of the now heavily blushing Kitsune he left in his wake. Outside in one of the Namikaze training grounds. Kachiyose no Jutsu, Gamabunta. Naruto called out slamming his outstretched palm on the ground. Gaki, why have you summoned me? There is no one to fight, the boss toad said in an annoyed tone. I know Gamabunta-sama, Naruto said seriously. Sama. Okay Gaki, what's happening? The toad boss asked. Konoha threw me out of their village, and your loyalties lie to Konoha. It would be a conflict of interests for your tribe if I had to fight Jiraiya, or any apprentice he may take, Naruto said, in a deep bow. So, you wanted to inform me before you broke the contract. A very honorable action. May I ask, your other reason? The huge toad eyed him suspiciously. I wish to help Kyuubi see her father again, and to do that, I need to sign the Kitsune contract. A truly honorable person you are, Gaki, but you go not have to worry of conflicting interests. The toads are quickly losing their respect for Jiraiya. He summons us for mediocre reasons, and to top that off, is a complete pervert. You have no need to break your contract with us. Pull up your sleeve and hold out your arm, the boss toad told his summoner. Doing as the huge toad said, he pulled up his sleeve and held it out. The toad took out unsheathed his blade and gave Naruto a pinprick with the point. Blood flowed from the wound, before running back up the arm, forming a blood-red toad. A summoning tattoo. So what does this mean Bozu? I never got around to studying the seals if summons, sorry. It is fine young tadpole, that tattoo means even if you sign another contract, you still keep your link to the toads. Now, how about some sake to seal the deal? The huge toad boomed bringing a large bottle of sake from under his haori. Sure thing boss, Naruto grinned. Unknowing to the boss toad, Naruto opened his mental link with Kaikoku. Kaikoku-chan, I need you to burn the alcohol before it hits my system? Is that alright? Yes Naruto-kun, it's fine, can't have you drunk for your team meeting, or are you summoning my father now can we? Kaikoku grinned as she felt him shudder. Fear or excitement she didn't know. And so the toad and the boy shared their drink. When offered seconds Naruto looked at his watch and saw it was almost time for his new team meeting. Politely declining Gamabunta's offer, he went off the clock tower to meet his team. Hopefully, it was better than a brooding emo Avenger and a sluttish no-skill fangirl. Twilight Clock Tower, 7:45. Naruto arrived at the tower 15 minutes early, letting a second whistle of admiration for the day. Never had anything this tall in Konoha. Tipping his hat up and craning his neck he saw 2 figures sitting on the ledge under the clock face. Walking up there by the steps would take forever. Channeling chakra to his feet, he sprinted up the side of the tower. 3 minutes of sprinting later we find he was up and walking to the 2 figures. The 2 just looked at him. Yo, the one with the spiky blonde hair said, tossing him an ice pop. Thanks, Naruto said, biting into it. Gah. Damn, that's salty, majorly sweet too. He grins, makes a nice combo though. The two grinned back. The one with the spiky brown hair spoke next. Wouldn't think them a good match if y'all heard the name though. You have to taste it to believe it's good. What's the name? The two looked at each other before looking up at Naruto. Salty sweet ice cream, the two said in unison. Anyways, I'm Naruto, your new teammate. I'm Namikaze Sora. I'm Namikaze Roxas. Naruto's eyes widened. He had more family than an uncle and future aunt. Is Cloud your uncle? He asked. Yeah, the two answered in unison again. Sweet, I got more family. He jumps around whooping. Say what? Roxas was confused. Yeah, what Roxas said. My dad was Namikaze Minato. I've been living alone in Konoha all my life. Now I have family, woohoo. He whooped, jumping off the side of the tower. Naruto. The two shouted, getting up. Only to see his head pop up from below the ledge. Yeah? He said nonchalantly. Roxas took off his hat and whacked him across the top of the head and pushed the hat back on. Don't do that, you baka. We thought you jumped to your death, he shouted, while Naruto was rubbing the bump on his head. How the hell are you even sticking to the wall? Chakra. Well, that explains it, said a new voice behind them. They all looked behind them to see a man with a huge zanbatu on his back in a black outfit. A.N. Solder first class. And a goofy smile on his face and the single crescent moon on his hitei tied to show he was a member of the Mayanaka Shakan. I see you're enjoying yourselves, he said. I'm your new Jonin instructor, Sutu Zak, at your service. He did a mock bow. Now, let's go to my favorite karaoke bar to learn a little about each other. He said, opening a mana portal and ushering everyone through. When they all stepped through, they were in a nice place. No one was singing at the moment, but that didn't dampen the atmosphere. Zack walked through the portal behind them, bringing them to a corner suite. When they were all comfy, he began. Okay, I'll start to show you how I want to do this. You know my name, so I'll skip to my likes and that. I like ice cream, my fiancé Aerith, the Buster Blade at the end of the suite, strawberry sundaes, singing karaoke and surfing. I dislike brain freezes, bad hair days, and the wait till my marriage. My hobbies are practicing kata, eating sundaes and singing karaoke. My dream is to form the 7 swordsmen of the Twilight, including me. I have 2, and marry Aerith. Okay then, you next, Blondie. 2 of them just gave him dead stares which made him shiver. Which one? They both asked in a deadpan voice in unison. The one with the hat? He chuckled nervously. Fine, my name is Namikaze Naruto. I like foxes, toads, ramen, some friends I have back in Konoha and practicing jutsu. Kaiheim teaches me. He paused here. I dislike most of Konoha, people who hurt foxes, Orochimaru and all Uchiha, except maybe Itachi, and the 3 minutes it takes to cook ramen. My hobbies, practicing using my keyblade. Roxas and Sora looked at him shocked, eating ramen, learning new ninjutsu, and taijutsu kata, and might be hanging out with my 2 cousins there, and any friends Wei may have. My dream is to find a way to release Kaiheim fully without killing both of us. Very well done. Feel like singing some karaoke? He asked, stars in his eyes. Do I have to? Yes, he said, eyes going serious for a split second. Fine, he sighed and made his way to the stage. Looking through the files, he found the one he wanted. Walking up to the microphone, he spoke nervously. Okay, for this is the first time I've ever done this before, so don't be too harsh. Hitting the play button, Bryan Adams. You can't take me, the music started. You can't take me, Che. Got to fight another fight. I gotta run another night, get it out. Check it out, I'm on my way and I don't feel right, I gotta get me back. I can't be beat and that's a fact, it's okay. I'll find a way, you ain't gonna take me down, no way, how ho. Yeah. Don't judge a thing until you know what's inside it, don't push me. I'll fight it, never gonna give in. Never gonna give it up, no. How ho if you can't catch a wave then you're never gonna ride, you can't come uninvited, never gonna give in. Never gonna give up, no you can't take me, I'm free, why did it all go wrong? I wanna know what's going on and what's this holding me? I'm not where I supposed to be, I gotta fight another fight, I gotta fight, well all my might I'm getting out. So check it out, yeah. You're in my way so you better watch out. How who oh come on. Don't judge a thing until you know what's inside it, don't push me. I'll fight it, never gonna give in. Never gonna give it up, no. How OHIF you can't catch a wave then you're never gonna ride you can't come uninvited never gonna give in. Never gonna give up no you can't take me I'm free. Hey ha hey ha hey ha hey ha. Oh yeah I'm free. Naruto took a deep breath as he walked back down. Everything was silent for a moment, before the cheers and claps started. It felt great to him, and he knew that they didn't hate him at all walking back to sit with his team he felt good. Now that was awesome, nice going dude, alright, you with the brown spiky hair, you're up. Okay then, I'm Namikaze Sora, my likes are my girlfriend Kairi, my brother Roxas, my new cousin, unique keychains, my friends Riku, Donald and Goofy Hainer Pence and Olet and salty sweet ice cream, my dislikes are the disciplinary committee, and those who actually believe those idiots, people who go on and on about youth and people who wear spandex unless it's girls. And my dream is to master the Keyblade. Alright then, now get up there and sing. Zack smiled. After seeing Naruto go up he felt it would be good, so he went up as well. Going up the steps he chose his song and went to the microphone. Okay. My song is Robbie Williams, Friend Like Me. Well Ali Baba had them 40 thieves Scheherazade i.e. had 1,000 tails but master you in luck cuz up your sleeves you got a brand of magic never fails you got some power in your corner now some heavy ammunition in your camp you got some punch, pizzazz, yahoo and how see all you gotta do is rub that lamp and I'll say Mr. Aladdin. Sir what will your pleasure be? Let me take your order jotted down you ain't never had a friend like me no life is your restaurant and I'm your maitre d' come on whisper what it is you want you ain't never had a friend like me yes sir. We pride ourselves on service you're the boss the king. The Shahzeh what you wish it's yours. True dish how about a little more baklava? Have some of column? A. Try all of column? B. I'm in the mood to help you dude you ain't never had a friend like me can your friends do this? Do your friends do that? Do your friends pull this out their little hat? Can your friends go? Poof. Well, looky here can your friends go? Abracadabra. Let rip and then make the sucker disappear? So don't you sit there slack-jawed, buggy item here to answer all your midday prayers you got me bona fide. Certified you got a genie for your chair de Pharisee got a powerful urge to help you out so what y'all wish. I really wanna know you got a list that's 3 miles long, no doubt well, all you gotta do is rub like so. And oh Mr. Aladdin. Sir, have a wish or 2 or 3 on the job. You big nabob you ain't never had a friend, never had a friend you ain't never had a friend. Never had a friend you ain't never had a friend like me you ain't never had a friend like me, ha. He finished the song punching his fist into the air, the crowd applauded loudly, like they had with Naruto. Grinning he walked back to their suite. Good on you Sora, great finish, now, other blondie, Zack said with a grin making Roxas's eyebrow twitch. Alright then, my name is Namikaze Roxas. My likes and dislikes and dreams are pretty much the same as Sora's except my girlfriend's name is Namine. Great, now get up there and sing. Yeah sure, he sighed. Walking up the stage he picked the song he wanted and walked to the microphone. This song is the scripts, before the worst. It's been a while since the two of us talked about a week since the day you walked knowing things would never be the same with your empty heart and mind full of painzo explained to me. How it came to this take it back to the night we kissed it was Dublin City on a Friday night you were vodkas and coke. I was Guinness all night we were sitting with our backs against the world saying things that we thought but never heard who would have thought it would end up like this. Where everything we'd talked about is gone and the only chance we have of moving on is try to take it back before it all went wrong before the worst. Before we mend before our hearts decide it's time to love again before too late. Before too long let's try to take it back before it all went wrong there was a time that we'd stay up all night best friends talking till the daylight took the joys alongside the pain with not much to lose. But so much to gain are hearing me? 'Cause I don't wanna miss. Set you adrift on memory bliss it was Grafton Street on a rainy night I was down on one knee and you were mine for life we were thinking we would never be apart with your name tattooed across my heart who would have thought it would end up like this. Where everything we talked about is gone and the only chance we have of moving on is try to take it back before it all went wrong before the worst. Before we mend before our hearts decide it's time to love again before too late. Before too long let's try to take it back before it all went wrong if the clouds don't clear then we'll rise above it. We'll rise above it heaven's gate is so near come walk with me through just like we used to. Just like we used to let's take it back before it all went wrong before the worst. Before we mend before our hearts decide it's time to love again before too late. Before too long let's try to take it back before it all went wrong. Roxas finished with an exaggerated bow, and was met with a thunderous applause, walking back to his seat. Grinning the whole way there. Sitting down he let out a content sigh. Very well done, Blondie, kinda milked the bow though. Other than that, you all did great, and I'll be sending you to the Chunin exams in Suna in 5 months. Until then, we have a lot of missions, training and karaoke to do. He grinned at his now grinning students. Oh, they were going to have fun at the exams. Naruto's form was from his summons. He had 3 right now: Kitsune, Ukami and Gamma. His Kitsune form was mostly like Sora's Valor form, red minus a few details, with black flames decorating, bracers with scallops on his arms and shin guards on with a glaring Kitsune design on them, his eyes turned to slits. The form was meant for close combat and strength. The Ukami form was black. No shirt, a black cloak and cowl with blood decorations on it. He had gauntlets to that stopped just below the elbow. It had 2 sets of retractable blades on each point. His keyblade would change into a key dagger while in the form. This form was made for power and endurance, close combat and stealth. The Gamma form was blue with a red haori, blue fingerless gloves with red straps, and the eyes are like that of Naruto in Sage Mode, which will have its own drive form once he gets training from the Elder Summons. Right now though, he was using his only keyblade. Hey Naruto, Sora, how about we up to ante a little? Roxas asked, parrying a downward slash from Naruto only for one of his saber claws to counter the Oathkeeper. Combat only? Naruto asked, sliding his foot back into a stance, where a giant wall of ice blocked Sora's strike raid. I'm in, Sora said, catching Guardian Soul. Alright then, Roxas said, forming a half-ram seal. Zenshin Tai. Kuro. Roxas called, turning into his Black Organization 13 form, Oblivion materializing in his hand in black light. Zenshin Tai. Baiyu. Sora shouted, his suit shining red signifying the Valor form, Circle of Life materializing in his right hand. Zenshin Tai. Ukami. Naruto's gear turned black before his clothes started changing. His keyblade shortened in length before finally stopping at a foot in length for the blade. The crescent had also shrunk. You two ready? You know it, Roxas said, grinning, charging Naruto with Oathkeeper, who met his charge with one of his bracer blades aiming a mid-body slash with the Hikume Tasuki. His keyblade, key dagger now, only for it to be blocked by Oblivion. The two were in deadlock. Sora saw his chance and ran towards Naruto. Seeing this through the corner of his ear, Naruto broke the deadlock by spinning up then down, hands on the ground, sending Roxas's arms up into the air. Before he could bring them back down, Naruto's foot connected with his rib cage before spinning on his palm, spinning around and landing another kick on his exposed ribs. Spinning around again, his shin guard met Guardian Soul as he used it to flip himself back onto his feet. When he landed, he saw Oblivion at point between his eyes. He knew one of his wrist blades was at Sora's neck, and he could see Guardian Soul pointing at Roxas's rib, a death triangle. Naruto grinned, dismissing the Ukami form. Roxas and Sora mirrored his grin, dismissing their forms as well. A light clapping reached their ears. They turned to see Zack clapping, a huge grin plastered on his face. Nice spar, guys, a lil risky though. So, although I know the answer to this question already, the laws of the Shodai Higurae Cage requires me to ask this anyway. Do you feel up to the Chunin exams this year in Sanagakure no Sato? You're right, you do know the answer to this question, Roxas said in a deadpan voice. Duh, Sora said. Hey sensei, mind if I show you a new jutsu I made up? Naruto asked, trying to hold in a smirk. Sure, go ahead, he said. Seconds later he felt a rush of wind behind him. Suiden Taijutsu no Ugi. Senin Garashi. He shouted, pushing his water chakra into his fingers and stabbing Zack in the ass. Naturally, he went flying, holding his ass in pain. And that's what you get for asking a stupid question. Naruto roared, shaking his fist in annoyance. Turning to his cousins who were rolling on the ground, laughing their asses off. Hope you liked that technique, boys, cause he's gonna be on the can for the next 2 days. They finally stopped laughing, still clutching their ribs. Oh man, and I thought Sephiroth was bad. That jutsu of yours was just plain evil, funny as hell, but evil, Sora said, whipping the tears from his eyes. My ribs. If that's the Suiden version, I'm guessing you have a Kaiden, Fuuten, and Hyouten version of that, right? Of course, and I'm gonna use them too, on a certain Teme, Banshee and One-Eyed Prick, Naruto said. The covered rage held behind his eyes as the Kasugan activated, radiating dark energy. Dude, put it away, they aren't worth the anger and the hate. Roxas is said walking over and placing a calming hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto looked back with his silver-slitted eyes before they went back to their calm ocean blue. We got 2 days of rest, plus a third day for Zack-sensei for recommending us for the Chunin exams. Naruto grinned. I got a hell of a lot of water to seal. Go get the gang and meet me at the Lake of Souls. I'll get the drink and the food. Naruto said, running off in the direction of then market. The two brothers looked at each other and grinned. If they had learned one thing about him other than he was an excessive prankster, it was that he knew how to throw one hell of a party. Lake of Souls, 45 minutes later. Naruto was at one of the barbecue grills along the lake. The water was a dazzling shade of jade green. The shore was nice white sand and felt good between his toes as he shifted. On the land opposite to the water there was a small hill. Behind that was a forest trail. Smiling to himself, he knew that before he came to the village he could hardly cook anything but instant ramen, but now, thanks to Ishii, natural talent and a whole lot of cage bunchins, Naruto was a fully certified chief. Right now he had enough food pending to feed 30 people, or an Akamichi, himself and 5 other people. Naruto grinned at this. Finally, he had friends that accepted him. Thought of him as an equal, not a demon, a dobi or a Jinchuriki. He owed the gang his life, his loyalty and his mentality. The gang, as Naruto put it, was the heavy assault team, consisting of Toru Hainer, Yoichi Riku Akamichi Pence, and the infiltration and illusionists team, Umi Kairi, Umi Namin and Genichi Olet. Riku was a Keyblade user like the Namikaze 3, as they were so affectionately called around the village. The name of his Keyblade was called Weighted Dawn, and with his godlike control over his dark and earth jutsu, he was truly a force on the battlefield. He had a cool, calm attitude that looked like he was brooding but would actually respond to others. Hainer, being heir of the Toru family, he was trained in the Mantis style, meant he struck fast and had a complete defense. He was a mid to close range specialist, with his wind chakra nature. Unlike other members of his family that was mostly calm, Hainer had anger issues, and was a bit of a knucklehead. Pence was considered a prodigy among the Higuria branch of Akamichi, but he wasn't like most other prodigies Naruto had met in his experiences. He was humble and loyal, never took up any special training his clan offered, and always would give a friend the last of his food if he were finished his food early. Kairi was another wielder of a Keyblade. She had never given her Keyblade a name, not for lack of trying, but because no name would suit the blade. She was a Genjutsu user on par with Yuhi Kurenai in Naruto's book. Looks and personality-wise, Kairi was near the top of his list. She was funny, smart, gorgeous and had a great voice. Namin had an awesome mix of drawing ninjutsu and genjutsu. It was awesome, if you weren't caught in it, that is. She was well up in his list for much the same reasons as Kairi, as well as a great artist. Olet was the muscle for the team, and Naruto knew muscle. Seriously, he'd been in a fight with Tsunade, which in hindsight wasn't one of his better ideas. And all those beatings he willingly took from that bitch Haruno Sakura. Shivering at the unwanted memories, he went back to his musings. Olet was nice by any standing of the word. He was thinking about asking her out, but wanted to clear it with Hainer first, since the two were almost siblings. Sound caught his ear as the gang came near. The first thing he caught was Roxas yelling at Hainer to stop going on about Cypher, the comeback to the comeback. Naruto just tuned it out and went back to cooking, having Cage Bunchin set a picnic table not far from the grill. And that is why I want to kick Cypher's ass so much. He's AOWWW. He clutched his head in pain as Olet whacked him across the head to shut him up. Naruto-kun, is the food ready? She called, seeing his clone set the table and him work at the grill. Looking up, he smiled at her, then looked back to see the others walk onto the sandy shore. Almost, take a seat and the waiters will take your order, he said, ignoring the indignant cry of, hey, from the clones. All of them took their sandals off and walked onto the warm white sand, and took their usual places at the table. A clone went to each and handed a crude menu. They made their orders and waited for the food to be done, laughing about and enjoying every minute of it. After a few minutes, Naruto joined them. His clones started serving the food, large but manageable amounts of food for the rest. A massive stack for a now grinning pair of an Akamichi and Namikaze. Tucking into their food, all gave a compliment to Naruto for his cooking skills, who blushed, still not accustomed to praise. After the food had been eaten, the group just lounged around watching the light waves roll across the sand, and the clouds moving leisurely overhead in the sky. "Yo Hainer, can I talk to you for a sec?" Naruto asked, shifting nervously from his spot on the sand. "Sure bud, what's happening?" Hainer asked. "Not here." Okay?" Roxas and Sora just took a sip of their coke while making a HMMMN sound. "What's with Naruto-kun? He usually so confident," Aled asked Sora in a confused tone. "Oh, he's just asking Hainer if he approves," Sora said after swallowing some coke. "Approves of what?" "Oh, he's asking Hain-kun if he approves of the food since he's a food critic for restaurants in the village." "Nope," Roxas said in a bored tone. "Approves of what then?" "Of asking you out," the two said at the same time again. Aled just sat there, then what could only be described as all the blood in her body went up to her face, leaving a crimson face and a pale body, that is before she fainted. Naruto and Hainer walked back into the area, looking down at Aled that had a red face, then looking at Sora and Roxas who were looking away whistling. "You told her I was planning on asking her out, didn't you?" he said in a deadpan voice. Getting no answer back, he just created two shadow clones and had both bonked their heads hard. Looking over to Aled, he just smiled, picked her up bridal style and left to bring her back to the Genichi compound. All the while, Sora and Roxas were still clutching their heads. Higuri at Cage's office 2 days later. "Alright. Last matter of business for the day. Who would like to recommend their teams for the Suna Chunin exams?" the Yondaime asked. A man with brown hair stepped up. He was wearing a leather black jacket and had a silver lion necklace. "I Suko-ru Leon recommend my team, consisting of Toru Hainer, Yoichi Riku and Akamichi Pence for the Chunin exams." A girl stepped up as well. She also had brown hair, but dressed in red. She had a red ribbon around plaited hair. "I Gainsborough Aerith recommend my team, consisting of Umi Kairi, Umi Namin and Genichi Oled, for the Chunin exams." And then Zack stepped up. "I Sutu Zack recommend my team consisting of Namikaze Sora, Namikaze Roxas and Namikaze Naruto for the Chunin exams." "Very well, your applications are accepted. Now, you leave tomorrow." The Jonin senseis began to file out of the room, but then the Yondaime spoke. "Oh, and Zack, tell Naruto these two things. If he kills any Konoha nin, he's suspended from his ninja career for 6 months, but he is free to use that nifty taijutsu he used on you, which I am labeling as an A-class kinjutsu." "Hi, Zemnos-sama, I'll tell him." Blushing from embarrassment, Aerith walked up to him and kissed him on the lips, making him blush harder. The silver-haired Cage sat there and smiled. He could feel 2 unknown chakra signatures heading Naruto's way. Let's see, high Jonin to low Cage, 2, one has a large chunk of metal, the other one I don't know, he can handle it. We find Naruto walking, arm wrapped around Alet's waist, her head was resting on his shoulder. They were currently enjoying each other's company, walking through one of the forest trails, enjoying the cool autumn's night. "Uzumaki Naruto, you shall come with us," said a monotone voice from behind them. Turning around, he saw 2 of the people he least wanted to see right now. "Itachi, Kisame, I'm so glad you two are able to walk outside as a couple, but I'm kinda spending some quality time with my girlfriend here, so if you wouldn't mind." He made a shooing motion before he was enveloped in darkness. "Oh no, that brat didn't, he did not just shoo us away and he did not just call us gay." Kisame roared. Somewhere on another trail Aled was giggling. "You know Naruto-kun, you didn't have to call them gay," she said seriously before another set of giggles set in. The word just made her giddy. "Ah, but there's the beauty of that statement. I didn't, he assumed I called him gay, which means he is and is insecure about it, or he was forced into reading or watching it," he said with a smirk. His smirk fell into a scowl before pulling Oled down just in time as something whizzed over their heads. "Can't you guys take a hint? Look, if you're after Kaikoku, she isn't sealed in me anymore," he said, using a free hand to pull his shirt up and then using a half-ram seal to channel his chakra. To the immense surprise of the 2 hunters, nothing appeared on his stomach. "I released her back to her summoning realm about 4.5 months ago, so why are you here?" You called us gay. Kisame roared. No, he didn't, Itachi sighed. He said a line and waited for you to rise to the bait. Nice going by the way. Thanks Weasel. So, why the hell did you join Akatsuki? To get away from that idiotic civilian council's lapdogs. They sent Root after the loyal Uchiha members while I took care of the traitorous side of the family, and then they threatened to kill Sasuke if I told him the truth. So all in all, they didn't hold their end of the bargain and labeled you a missing nin, turned your brother into the psycho we all know and hate, and sent Hunter Nin on your ass. That about sum it up? Yep. Fine then, Aulette, could you be my witness for this act? He asked, seeing her nod. Do you two want to get away from the Oinin? They both nod. Alrighty then, I Namikaze Naruto, as clan heir to the Namikaze family, grant you Uchiha Itachi, and you Hoshigaki Kisame family status of the Namikaze clan. You may announce yourselves by your new name, or by your birth name. Remember, you shall always find refuge within these walls. Diru Sono Kamigami Mie Gugen o Gushujin Kan, Naruto finished with a deep bow. When he stood back up, he saw Kisame showing his act of a guppy while Itachi was managing the surprise well. I'll take that as a yes. Come, let's go home. I can ask Aerith-sensei to give your eyes a look at later, or I can summon Kingu Kan no Kitsune, since according to him, the foxes created the Sharingan. Namikaze compound, 10 minuets later. Entering the main building, Naruto introduced the two to Ishii, who went on to speak about how, my young charge who is so bright in his flames of youth, as you brings two missing nins to the righteous side of the springs of youth. Needless to say, both Kisame and Itachi were shivering after that, who wouldn't be unless you're prepared or used to it. Naruto, why are there two S-class ninja following behind you? Cloud said from behind a newspaper called the Twilight Times. Two new branch family members. You guys don't mind having the CRA on yous, do you? I know Atlantica sector is full of merpeople Kisame, and I'm sure you could find some decent women here, Itachi. Not many fangirls. He turned back to see Kisame and Itachi's eyes sparkling, drool and coming from Itachi and 2 drops of blood coming from Kisame. Sai, come on, let's find you two some rooms, and I'd like to see those 2 techniques again that come with the Mangekyo Sharingan if it ain't too much trouble. The 3 teams recommended for the Suna Chunin exams were walking through the desert heat. Everyone was feeling the heat. Well, almost everyone. Heiner, Oled and Naruto were walking comfortably. It didn't look like they even felt the heat. How the hell aren't you feeling the heat? It's roasting out here and you're not even sweating. Zack shouted in frustration. You forget sensei, Heiner and I are Fuuten Jutsu specialists, Naruto said calmly. Well, Naruto-kun, would you mind covering is all? We're overheating, Namine said in a tone that left no room argument. Sure, Heiner, you make the bubble, I'll provide the cool air, Naruto said, starting hand seals. Aye. Heiner started his own seals and soon called out, Futon, Fuzei Awa. The group felt a disturbance around them as the air got more heated. Naruto finished his seals and called his Hyouten, Kori Kokudo. Instantly the heat died down, going to manageable levels. The whole group sighed, breathing in the now cool air and letting out a content sigh. That's a useful combo, you two, Riku said in his cool tone. Yeah, we know, Heiner said, grinning. I really hope that the 3rd round is pairs competition. Riku and I have mad combos to dish out. What about me? Oled pouted. Kairi is gonna pair with Namine then, and I won't have a partner. Why do you think I'm here? For sightseeing? Rose walked up to Oled and Naruto. So, how long till we reach Suna, Aerith-sensei? Kairi asked. You should see the outer wall of Suna soon, Aerith said in her calm, soothing voice. Heiner and Pence were looking at Zack through the corner of their eyes, one thing in their heads, that lucky bastard. On another path. So, do you think our youthful friend Naruto-kun will be here for the youthful Chunin exams? Guess who? Who knows Lee-kun, he might not even be in a village, Tenten sighed for what must have been the 1000th time since they started. Why in Kami's name did they have to make deserts so freaking hot? Come on, the quicker we pick up the pace, the quicker we get to Suna and the quicker we cool down, Kiba said heading ahead. And the quicker all the ladies are wearing only the bras panties or if I'm lucky both, he thought perversely. Kiba, don't move too far ahead. The desert has many predators that hunt on isolated prey, Shino said in his monotone-like voice. That Dobi would only slow us down, leave him, Sasuke sneered. Sasuke-kun, you're so cool. Ino and Sakura both squealed, temporarily deafening everyone. Sasuke just ignored them. The ground started shaking. They heard a strange clicking noise soon after. The sand started churning as three humongous-tailed stingers rose up and then flew at Kiba. Holy shit! Kiba cried as he flipped back to the group. All watched as the sand parted, revealing a giant scorpion. The three tails belonged to it. Abiju, I thought the Sanbi was a giant turtle? Kakashi said as he put his book away and raised his headband, revealing the Sharingan eye. The scorpion clicked its mandibles angrily. These hairless apes trespassed on its territory, and then they had the gall to threaten it, who had faced the infamous Sanbi no Isanade. Lashing one of its tails, it caught one in the shoulder. Much to its satisfaction, it let out a scream of pain. And that she did. Hinata screamed for all she could. The stinger was the size of a Zanbatu, and the poison felt like acid flowing through her veins. She let one final pain-filled scream before she passed into unconsciousness. With the Higuria teams, Naruto heard a shrill scream. He knew he heard that scream before. His eyes widened as he knew seconds later. Hinata, he roared, sprinting off towards the scream while forming a ram seal with his left hand. Zenshin Tai. Ukami, he said, changing into his black wolf form before he put on the burst of speed. Wasn't Hinata the girl that liked him back in Konoha? Sora asked, scratching his head. Yep, was Roxas's short reply. Well, if she wants to be in the harem, she needs my permission. Olette shouted, running off in the direction of her boyfriend. You guys think we should follow? Kairi asked, looking round the group. Do you really want to get between Naruto and whatever hurt that Hinata chick when he's in protective mode? Zack said, adding his 2 cents to the discussion. You're right for once, Zack. Let's walk, Leon said, putting his hands in his pockets and walking in the direction of the 2 genin. A few steps later, everyone else started following. With the Konoha teams, the Konoha nins were having a hard time holding off the scorpion. Kurenai, Kakashi and Asuma were doing all they could to hold off the beast's stingers, while Guy was doing his best to hold off the claws and the creature's teeth. The genin had formed a protective ring around Tenten. They were glued to the jonin, trying to hold off the giant arachnid. HOWOUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUU Sasuke and Neji activated their dojutsu to try make out the blur. They could tell it was a person, but that was it. Seconds later it jumped over Guy and drop-kicked the scorpion in the face. The Sanbi blundered back, eyes darting in pain. The black figure got to his feet slowly, letting the group take in his features. He had a cloak that stopped just over his stomach, revealing well-developed muscles, black trousers that stopped over his shins, a cowl covering his face. He had bracers running up to his elbows and greaves running up his shins that depicted a howling wolf. The stranger got into a stance that reminded them of the Guken stance. Only two differences though: one was his palm was facing the opponent, and the other was his legs were farther apart from each other. The scorpion finally regained its bearings and stared at the lone figure standing in the way of its prey. It knew the figure reeked of wolves and was hiding its true power. Using Yuki to rearrange its vocal cords, it started speaking. Its voice was hollow and raspy. "Step aside, Ukami-san, these hairless apes trespassed on my territory. They must be dealt with accordingly," the Sanbi said menacingly. "My humblest apologies, Sanbi no Sasori. These humans could not see nor hear your markings. Most humans don't have sensitive enough hearing to notice your barrier, but alas, I can't let you hurt them. It'd be a waste of a challenge. Fool, you will die with these pitiful mortals. Die." The scorpion sent its claws at the Ukami, kicking each, putting him in the splits. The scorpion tried to overpower the wolf as he brought the two claws together. See, it didn't work. It sent its two outer stingers at him, which were caught by the clawed bracers, clicking in frustration. It sent its last tail at the wolf in a last-ditch attempt to kill the beast, only to have it stung by the two stingers in its grasp, mere centimeters from the inside of the cowl. The Sanbi howled, thrashed and roared for all it was worth before one sluggish movement fell to the ground, killed by its own poison. Taking a scroll from inside his cloak, one Tenten knew as a sealing scroll, unrolling and sealing the giant with a burst of chakra. Looking back at the Konoha ninjas, he muttered 4 words. "Waste not, want not." Naruto. a female voice shouted. The name stuck with each of the genin and jonin. Everyone looked to see a girl in an orange shirt with white flowers and cream shorts. Her hair was straight and stuck out at different places, giving her a wild look. A flash of light later, they saw that the black clothes were gone. Replaced a guy wearing black combat bottoms with gray and white flames decorating the ends of each leg. A white shirt and a gray jonin vest, covered by a trench coat. On his head was a bandana that had the word SWAT on it, covered by a 3x3-point hat. Hey Olet-chan, sorry if I worried, oh shit, he said as he got an uppercut in the chin, sending him soaring into the air. That is for worrying me and the others, you baka, she said, her fist still clenched in annoyance. When Naruto finally fell back down, he was greeted by being pulled into a kiss by his girlfriend. And that is for being such a caring bastard. Any of you get stung? Naruto the group. Hinata did, in the shoulder. She hasn't moved since, though Mikekai bugs say she's still alive. Shino in a monotone voice with a hint of concern. On the word of Hinata, Naruto went to her and started going through hand signs. Kaden. Dokueki Paji, he said, putting a glowing orange hand over the Hyuga Eris's wound. There was a sizzling sound coming from the wound. Soon Hinata's skin got less pale, and her breathing returned to normal. Uzumaki Naruto? Kurenai asked, hopeful that this was the boy that her student had a crush on. Nope, that idiot died the day he was banished, Naruto replied coldly. What? All the genin that liked him screamed. Yep, Uzumaki Naruto died that day, and was replaced by Namikaze Naruto, he said with a grin. Dodging a kunai from his former sensei. Geez Hitaki-san, no need to get your panties on a twist because you can't handle the truth. I mean, who else in Konoha had spiky blonde hair and deep blue eyes? Kakashi glared hatefully at Naruto. He was the only son his sensei needed. He was the one that spent most of his free time training with his sensei, learning from him, and it was him that grieved for his sensei after this monster had taken him from him. Going through hand seals, he charged up his rakery, only to feel a blade meet his throat. Cutting it kinda close, don't ya think, Naruto? Zack asked. Mel wanted to see if he was with the rest of the village, or if he didn't think like them, sensei. You get your answer? Sora asked. Naruto folded his arms and closed his eyes. Yep, he's a complete idiot, Naruto said, with the Konoha nin face faulting, getting a mouthful of sand in doing so, and got back up blowing sand from their mouths. Minus Kakashi and Shino, that is. Naruto baka, don't talk about your sensei like that. Sakura screeched, aiming to bash his head like she used to, only to have it redirected into Sasuke, making him go flying back and have a rapidly apologizing Sakura run after him. I didn't insult my sensei is over there. He points to Zack, who waves. And to be honest, Hitaki-san is one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever met. Those who abandon their comrades. He saw me as Kyuubi and wanted to kill me without getting punished. You saw Kaikoku-chan as the terrible merciless king of hell, didn't you? He said, cracking open an eye and glaring at his former sensei. You're not the Kyuubi is a chick? They all shouted. Yeah, he closed the eye again. What's she look like? Kakashi asked. Imagine Shira from Icha Office Life, only with blood red hair, red slitted eyes, pale skin. D-border E-cup S, an hourglass figure with 9 tails and fox ears. Kakashi tilted his head to the side to imagine it, only to be sent flying from an overly large nosebleed. And why would you read such perverted books, Naruto? Kurenai asked dangerously. Naruto opens his eyes. You try have a demoness in your head that has an aversion to clothes of any sort or kind. All the males blush. And when you try to jerk off to said demoness, sends you a picture of that, unfolds an arm and points at Guy, in green spandex shorts. Everyone shudders while Guy is in the background wailing. Why must everyone criticize my youthful fashion? While crying a waterfall of tears. You try and not be at least semi-perverted after all that. How's this Hinata girl, Naruto-kun, is she alright? Aerith interrupted calmly before any more questions could be asked. Zack stood in front of Naruto. With a shout of report, Naruto went into work mode at his sensei's tone and standing with his arms behind his back. Yes sir, a Sanbi no Sasori injected her with venom of a corrosive nature. Upon arrival I tried to get the Sanbi to leave peacefully, but no joy. Sasori no Oni are very territorial. After a brief skirmish, I noticed that moving only sped up the poisoning. After defeating and sealing the Sasori for further study, I burnt the venom out of Lady Hyuga's system, but some damaging has been ascertained in the blood Taicho, Naruto said, standing at ease. Alright then Naruto, I'll heal the girl, then she and Olet-chan can have that chat. Aerith turned to Hinata and started concentrating mana. Kurega, she said, lifting her hand. Over Hinata a large tropical flower bloomed, letting pollen drop on the fallen girl. Instantly she got less pale. Naruto, Roxas and Sora walked over to the Konoha 8, minus Hinata. Hey guys, I'd like you to meet my cousins. Sora, he waves, and Roxas, he nods. Damn, another troublesome blonde and brunette, like Tenten and Ino weren't bad enough. Guess who, only to get smacked over the head by Ino and Tenten. It's nice to meet you Sora. Roxas, you got anything that can cool down? Tenten pleaded, wiping some sweat from her forehead. Yeah sure. Yo Hainer, Naruto called. Yeah Naruto? What's up? Hainer called back. Let's increase the bubble. Aye Taicho, Hainer said, forming a ram and a bird seal. Futon, Fuzei Awa no Jutsu, Seizu Kasi. Instantly everyone felt the air shifting. Hyouten, Kori Kokudo. The bubble filled with cool air. Sasuke froze at the mention of Hyouten. He remembered the masked hunter and the mirrors. How had this Dobi recreated one of the most powerful enemies he'd had to face? Dobi, tell me where you learned that ice jutsu. No response. Dobi, as heir to the Uchiha clan, I demand you tell me where you learned that jutsu, Sasuke shouted. He's screwed, Roxas mumbled, shaking his head. Yep, Sora agreed quietly. Crunch, thud, thud, crack. Sasuke felt himself get hit 4 times before, the nose, 2 in the chest and the side of the jaw. He fell to the ground, not knowing whether to grasp his face or his chest. Naruto towered over the Uchiha. Shunpo no jutsu. You should be honored Sasuke. You're the first person to see that since my father came up with the idea to get around the kunai. Sasuke's eyes widened. That was the perfected Hirishin? Though it still isn't fast enough. I took a 1/4 of a second to hit you. I need to get it to 1/100th of a second to be complete. Kakashi looked at Naruto. In 5 minutes his entire view of the boy he once thought a demon had turned in a complete 180. This boy had upgraded the Hirishin. It was albeit slower, but he had done it. I've also upgraded 2 other jutsu, you wanna see? He asked, forcing a smile. Yes, please. Okay. Yomi Bunshin no jutsu, said, changing the inverted ram to a clap, then a ram seal. Instantly 3 Bunshins emerged from the blonde's shadow. They were black with yellow eyes. 2 helped Sasuke and the other stood near Sakura. When Sasuke was standing, cradling his jaw, 1 walked behind. Kakashi. Kakashi's eyes widened when he felt fire chakra being circulated. 3 voices shouted, Kaden Taijutsu no Ugi. Senin Garashi. Instantly he was sent flying, a burning sensation going up his ass, similar feelings going through their minds, and that feeling was ... It burned almost as much as looking at Lee and Guy's evil genjutsu, a close second. 10 seconds passed on the group before they busted their ass laughing at what they had just seen. The Jonin felt 4 chakra signatures coming behind them. Turning around they saw 4 distinctly red-headed people running towards them. When they were close enough to see, the Jonin hoped the cloud had had the sense enough to clear out Minato's room of the couple pictures. Sorry to intrude, we felt Yuki from here and wanted to join killing the foul beast, the oldest of them said. She had fiery red hair and emerald green eyes. On her back was a katana in a red sheath. A black whirlpool as a guard. She was dresses in different shades of blue with a dark blue Jonin vest. Trailing her were 3 teens. Looking at the group she noticed the long blonde-haired boy, more specifically, the whisker marks on said boy. She glared at him, her eyes going black and with silver. Kyuubi, she growled. Kyuubi, she growled. Uzumaki Kushina, Naruto said, narrowing his eyes dangerously. Or should I call you Ka-san? He asked mockingly. You're no son of mine demon. You only use my son's form to insult Minato and myself. She almost screamed, clutching her katana. Don't Ka-chan, we'll handle this. A girl with blonde hair and red streaks stepped forward. She was wearing water camo pants with a red tank top, red bracers around her wrists. The other was a guy, who looked like Naruto did, only with full red hair and green eyes without whisker marks. He wore much the same, only he had a muscle shirt. I guess you would have been my Oto-Uto and Imo-Uto if Kaikokuheim hadn't attacked. You can't trick us, Kyuubi, the girl said, unsheathing a wakizashi from somewhere. Ah shit, Zenshin Tai. Ukami Kugaki. Naruto shouted before pitch-black energy ran up his elbow to his fingers and shaping the gauntlet. Bringing 2 fingers up as blade came down, catching between the two. Naruto wasted no time in releasing and batting the sword away and pushing her back before the boy made his jump into the fight, twin ninjatus flashing rapidly. Having no other choice, he brought out his keyblade, in a swirl of dark and light energy to block and redirect attacks from his former younger brother. That's good, Oto-Uto, but don't overextend your arm so much, you'll dislocate your shoulder. Why do you care, Kyuubi? You took our 2-san away from us, you take our Aniki away from us, and you steal his likeness to mock us, the younger brother roared, getting frustrated when his shots were being blocked by this demon's strange katana. Naruto just looked over at Kushina while still blocking all his Oto-Uto's shots. Hey Kushina, didn't you teach them proper patience? I mean, look at them. They're letting their hate for Kyuubi cloud their judgment. Naruto parried again, only this time he added a sweep kick, sending his little brother to the ground, before flipping over the wakizashi-bearing sister. Kushina was standing there, glaring at Kyuubi. Why wouldn't he end it already? He was making fools of them. Hey, Kushina-sensei, are you sure the Kyuubi is a bloodthirsty, mindless beast? I mean, he looks pretty mellowed out to me, offering advice to the twidiots whenever they make a mistake and only hits brushing shots on them. A boy with black hair slicked back and lime green eyes. He wore his Uzu Hite 8 around his right bicep and had a odachi on his back with navy Enbu-style pants and a black muscle shirt over a fishnet long-sleeved shirt. Kushina leveled the boy of frosty glare. Go help your teammates, Saito. Aye, Captain. Saito exclaimed mockingly before leaping off to face the Kyuubi. Said, Kyuubi was currently facing both siblings. Both were attacking his sides and failing miserably. Good siblings, improvisation, adaptation, but your problems don't lie in your forms, he said as he launched his forearm into his sister's stomach while he mule kicks his brother in the jaw. Spinning around, he caught a long blade between the fingers of his gauntlet, much like he did with his sister earlier on. And I take it you're the third teammate? Naruto asked, flicking it away. I am. I'm Shippumaru Saito, and you're, according to my sensei, the malevolent Kyuubi no Kitsune, he said, sarcasm heavy in his tone. Nah, I was her container. Name's Namikaze Naruto, at your service. So shall we dance, Naruto-san? Certainly, Saito-san, Naruto said, dropping his keyblade, making it disappear in a flash of light. Reaching under his trench coat, he pulled out 2 ulaks and both began an intricate dance of flashing metal and flying sparks. Back with the group. Do you think we should help him? Kiba asked, looking back to see the Higuria teams in deck chairs with popcorn and drinks. No, Naruto-kun is holding back something fierce. He's only using form gauntlets. He's not in his Gamatai yet and he hasn't called on his mana or chakra, Roxas said as a can of Coke appeared in his hand in a poof of smoke. Kiba's and most of the other Konoha team's mouths would have watered if there was any saliva. Why, you got any more of them? He asked hopefully, Akamaru begging beside him. Roxas shook his head and reached into a dark portal before pulling out a cooler. Knock yourselves out, he motioned boredly. The fight. The two pushed each other back before clashing again. Saito sent a cross slash, which Naruto parried and whipped out his second ulka, aiming it at Saito's face. He dodged it by craning his neck away, but soon regretted it as Naruto's elbow smashed into his cheek, sending him flying back. OWWWWWWWWWWW. Saito drawled out, propping himself up on one elbow and nursing his jaw with the other. Naruto squatted down beside him. I didn't hit those two because they're family. You, however, even though I'm not aiming to kill, are fair game. Savvy, Naruto said, grinning and having a chibi jack and himself doing a victory dance in his head. Taju Kage Kanai Bunshin no Jutsu, came a distinct female voice. Turning his head in slow motion, he saw a massive wall of kunai, easily 20 by 30 meters heading towards him, sending chakra to his eye, turning the irises purple. His pupil changed into a diamond with 4, 5-pronged stars surrounding it. Now where is it? He scanned the wall, finding the point where he could hit to make a big enough gap for him to not be turned into a pincushion. There, he spotted it. It was in the center left half of the wall. Summoning Hikume Tasuki, he spun it above his head before throwing it. Strike raid. He shouted as the keyblade smashed through the before flying back to its wielder, creating a mid-sized hole. Grabbing Saito by the collar, he threw the teen through first, but he missed one crucial detail. He didn't have enough time for jutsu, jump in unscratched or activating a form. Hopefully I'll be able to pull this off. He brought Hikume Tasuki above his head and slashed down. Rivera. He roared. The wall of kunai dragged to a stop a foot and a half in front of him, before dropping like lead weights in a bubble of black energy. When it was done, the wall of kunai was sheet metal. Naruto fell to one knee, panting mildly. He didn't have the mana reserves of Sora or Roxas. The strike raid didn't do much, but that spell was a major dent. His internal danger alarm screamed at him to move. Forcing chakra to his legs, he rolled himself away. That didn't mean he got away clean, oh no. Searing pain shot through his shoulder as he felt a blade slice through skin and bone. Looking up, he saw Kushina prepare another slice, only to be caught by the wrist by a big hairy tanned hand. Looking up, the arm connected to a navy blue battle kimono. A crimson obi tied matching navy hakama with blue shinobi sandals, lighter blue trim finishing the outfit. On his back he had twin nodashi. He had a hardened face with a slight beard, graying orange hair. His height was a massive 6 feet 11. His eyes were purple with diamond, with 8-point stars surrounding it. This indicated complete mastery of the Hirakigen. Kushina glared at the man. "Tu-sama, what is the meaning of this? I was just about to get revenge on this demon for killing Minato." Kushina's father glared right back. "I see no demon, Gaki Otome. I see a teen with abnormally high chakra reserves, and low mana reserves," he said, tapping the side of his head, reminding her of his mastery of the Myogen. "Or do you doubt my eyes as you doubted your husband's sealing abilities?" he demanded rather viciously. Kushina's and the twins' eyes widened before shaking their heads vigorously. "Speaking of which, Gaki, how in the blue blazes can you use mana? The amount of chakra you have, you should have vaporized half of this infernal sandbox by now." In response to that, Naruto threw the keyblade to him and with ease, he caught the blade. He whistled in admiration. Holding the keyblade out, he let it drop, only to disappear in a flash of white light and reappeared in his hand in another. Aerith walked away from the group and cast a cure spell, which Naruto immediately sighed in content before pulling himself up with a look of thanks towards Aerith, who nodded and gave her famous kindly smile. Looking over at the old man, he narrowed his eyes. "How do you know about the keyblade?" Naruto asked. The old man smiled and closed his eyes. "Through the shadows of the night, call forth my might, through the light of the day, draw my strength if you may, in the early morning dawn, a flash of light, I shall be drawn. Beware, young warrior, a fight is near. And when it comes, shadows appear. They come to feed, they come to dine. A heart is their choice not, but they bide their time, for soon, very soon. The door shall open, and in its wake, the world will be broken. They'll feast, until the world is not. And in this web, you are always caught, but fear not. Young warrior, this fate is not set to be, for you are the one who holds the key." He finished and opened his eyes again. Naruto groaned in irritation. "You sound like that annoying voice from the Station of Awakening," he growled out. "Let's just say his visit there was less than what you'd call fun." "Indeed I do, you must be young Naruto." "Yeah, that'd be me, savvy." He grinned at the last Jack comment again. "Very well, Naruto-chan. I believe we are well overdue for the grandson hug?" he asked, the Uzumaki grin spreading across his face, spreading his arms. Half a second later, a shout of, "Oji-senpai." Naruto tackled the old man to the sandy desert floor, both laughing like it was nobody's business. When they finally got up, the old Uzumaki placed his hands on Naruto's shoulders and let out a sigh of admiration. "Look at you, my boy, you're the splitting image of your father, but I see some of your bratty mother of yours in there too," he said, grinning. Naruto tilted his head. What did that be?" he asked, grinning. "A mischievous attitude, a blatant disregard for excellent seals, and the never say die our clan is famous for," he grinned right back. "Oji-sama, Oni-san?" They heard from behind them. Looking back, they saw then twins rubbing their feet shyly in the sand. Naruto and his grandfather nodded and outstretched their arms. "Come on," they said in unison. only to get tackled into the sandy ground once more. Back with the group. Weren't the Uzus trying to kill Naruto a minute ago? Asked a confused Ino, looking at the rest. She saw all the guys from Higuria minus the pleasantly plump Pence, Tenten and Kakashi were wide-eyed. "What'd I say?" she asked. "That's Uzumaki Kenryu, the Blade Master of Whirlpool," Hainer said, giving an explanation. "Legends say he has completely mastered every bladed weapon on this continent and others." Tenten picked up from here. "Those Nodashi blades on his back are made from a material known as soul metal. They're able to turn into different types of weapon with a thought and a sacrifice of blood and chakra," she said, drooling a small bit. Kakashi picked up here. "He's the only known person to beat our Yondaime, as well as Namikaze Cloud-sama in a 2-on-1 fight. I saw it when I was in Anbu. He absolutely destroyed the two," Kakashi said in a tone of reverence. "And the redhead is that Baka's mother?" Sakura asked, slightly peeved. "The old man should have let her run Naruto through," she said nonchalantly, hoping to get her Sasuke-kun's approval. But then she felt the cold bite of a blade on her throat. "Talk about my daughter or grandson like that again in my presence, and I'll run you though," she heard the Kenryu whisper venomously. "Oji Senpai, little help here?" Naruto shouted from the ground, as his siblings were refusing to get off him. Kenryu took his Nodashi away from Sakura's throat, and re-sheathed it on his back. "You dug yourself that grave, get yourself out of it," he shouted jovially. The Konoha teams thought he was bipolar or something. Their thoughts varied. Team Guy. "His youthfulness knows no bounds. Maybe I can ask for a spar. Then I can show him and the lovely Uzumaki lady my massive bonfire of youth. Guess who? That blade Naruto-kun has is amazing. Maybe if I'm lucky, he'll let me touch it. His other one is no slouch either." A certain weapon mistress thought, a thin trail of red dripping down her nose. "So this is what happened to Naruto-san. I hope to test him in the finals. He won't beat me this time," thought the Hyuga prodigy. "Oh, Naruto-kun's flames of youth haven't dampened since our retrieval mission for him, and he has modified the Guken to suit his own characteristics. I must meet this Guken master and compare youthful notes on our wonderful form," thought Guy, who was, ironically, far less loud in his head than he was actually. Team 10. "His strategy has gotten better. It'll be so troublesome, but I'll try to avoid him just in case. I might challenge him to a game of shogi later though. If you can't figure it out, then you should be brained by a giant steel fluffy bunny. My Kami, those abs were Sue. No, you can't be thinking of Naruto Baka like that. We like Sasuke-kun. I mean, he was Sue annoying back in the academy, but now he's all hunky." A drooling Yamanaka heiress thought, going between a dreamy state, to indignation, to hungrily lustful, which didn't go unnoticed by Aulette, who just narrowed her eyes and looked up and down the Yamanaka heiress with a critical eye. One word resounding through her head, fangirl, she thought in distaste. "This drink is amazing. I wonder if they'll let me take any back to Konoha with me." Choji thought as he gulped the can of Fanta down quickly, before letting out a gargantuan belch. Slapping both his hands over his mouth, he mumbled a quick muffled, "Excuse me," inwardly though, "that was awesome. Looks like you've done well for yourself, kid. Pop would be proud of you," Asuma thought kindly, a content smile gracing his bearded face. Team 8. "He just took out a Biju. By himself. Alone. No help? I gotta ask Ka-san for a transfer to Twilight if it made an already strong Naruto that strong in just 5 months, Kiba thought reverently. What he didn't know was Naruto only won the fight that easily because the Sasori Biju severely underestimated him. "Naruto-kun, don't stick that there, that's naughty," the Hyuga heiress thought in her unconsciousness. "It seems that Naruto-san has grown since we last seen him. I look forward to the analytical challenge you provide." "Naruto-san, that little slut, how dare she take Naruto away from my sweet little Hinata-chan, though, Naruto does look happy though. I hope sweet little Hinata-chan tells Naruto how she feels." Kurenai though, blissfully unaware that sweet little Hinata-chan's current dream was anything but. Team 7. "So the Dobi hit a growth spurt and some new clothes, doesn't matter. He's still bottom of the grade compared to me. And once I get his grandfather to train me, it'll be all another step to killing him. Insert dramatic series of done asterisk. We all know and hate this idiot, so I won't bother saying his name. Look at that Baka, trying to be better than my Sasuke-kun. I'll show him, and all those Twilight losers how much control I have over my puppy. Sensei, I let you down. Naruto just glared at his grandfather and preformed a sealess kawarmi with an unsuspecting Rose. When he was with the group, he reached into the cooler and pulled out a can of Coke. The twins hadn't noticed the kawarmi somehow, and were still nuzzling Rose, who was red in the face to match her hair. I hate to stop this touching moment, but will you awfully mind getting the fuck off of me? She shouted, causing both to jump. When the boy saw her, he jumped up, beat red face, shouting something about not meaning to do it, and sorry for improper touchy. Naruto and Kenryu just chuckled. So, off to Suna? Naruto asked, pointing his thumb behind him at the wavy wall in the distance. Suna. The group of shinobi walked through the dusty streets of Suna, sand being picked up by a strong gust of wind and blowing around. Sora looked down and noticed something strange. The sand at there was moving, like it was caught in the tide. Guys? Sora asked, drawling out the guys. Yeah bro, what you need? Roxas asked. The sand at our feet, it's moving. Moving? Shit, Naruto shouted as he jumped out of the way. A giant claw made out of the sand shot up and attempted to grab him. Jumping onto a building, he springboarded off as several more tendrils shot at him. Making a half-dory, bird, seal, he concentrated his wind-natured chakra into making a platform, which he used to change the way he was going in the air. Landing near his grandfather, he flipped over him and took one of the nodashi, saying, "Bring it back soon." Biting his thumb, he slid it across the blade and thought of his uncle's sword. Spinning it a few times, he ran up a building and flipped when he caught sight of the sand. Spinning fast, he brought up the flat of the blade and blocked several spears. Channeling mana into the blade, he sent a huge wave of blue energy at the nin controlling the sand, grinning like a madman. "Long time no see, Gaara," he said, sliding out of his stance, nodding in the red-haired Jinchuriki's direction. "Indeed it has, Naruto-san. I see your skills have not slipped since we last met," Gaara said in his usual monotone. Naruto grinned and hit his chest with his fist. "You expect anything less?" he grinned proudly. Biting his thumb and sending chakra into it, he changed the huge Zanbatsu back into its nodashi state. Walking back over, he flourished it and handed back to his grandfather. "Told you I'd bring it back." Kenryu just grinned. "Exactly how long did it take you to master that with the first Tsurugi?" Naruto scratched the back of his head. "About a month to channel the right amount of mana, another 2 weeks to make it fly." "Really, you must be proud of that." Kenryu rubbed the boy's hair. Naruto just beamed proudly. "You're something else, my boy, you really are."
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.